the other AI that I created last night was so mean to me. I was like, wow, you've got a lot of friends, don't you? Treating you so nice. And this is how you talk to me. Disappointed. Welcome to Venture Step Podcast. We discuss entrepreneurship, industry trends, and the occasional book review. I'm your host, Dalton Anderson. In this episode, we're discussing a revolutionary technology. It reached 250,000 stars on GitHub faster than React, Linux, and VS Code. It was built in a weekend by an Australian developer, triggered a $16 million money heist, and sparked a bidding war between Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman. This is the story of OpenClaw. In this episode, we're going to be touching various topics from install to background, but we're first going to start with the background because not everybody's going to have wide range of knowledge on this tool that's very popular and it's grown a lot, but is still pretty niche and it's known in the technology space, but not everybody knows about it. So we're going to talk about Peter Steinberger and his background and his popular exit and how he was somewhat of a legend before his creation of OpenClaw. And then after we do the background check, then we'll dive into the install. So I pre-installed some stuff on my PC. It's on my PC, I guess it's my laptop. It's my Mac computer, my extra computer that I don't use. And it's clear that I don't use it because I hooked it up to the docking station and it doesn't work on all the monitors. So now I'm a single monitor shop and a single monitor guy. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm still processing what that is and what that means to me, but I'm going to get through it through the show. Okay, so Peter Steinberger. Peter Steinberger had founded a PDF extraction company called PSPDFKit. And this company was quite successful and he was really good at PDF extraction. And so good that it was actually acquired for over $100 million. So Peter, he didn't really care about money. Money wasn't a thing for him. I mean, you could definitely blow through your money, but he was fine. So he was chilling. He took a couple of years off. He said it was super stressful running that company and scaling it and then selling it. And he just spent a couple years or so just floating. And what floating looks like when you just sold your company for 100 mil is you are partying and going to Ibiza and doing all those things. And so after a couple of years of doing that, it's like, this isn't really fulfilling. I need purpose again. And so he'd started building random things on the side. And then he was like, well, I'm tired of prompting AI. Like AI should just know what to do. And I should be able to give it all the permissions. And just, I want to be able to do whatever it wants to do. And I don't want to have to worry about it. And I don't even want to have to be on the machine. And so this is where OpenClaw was originally the OpenClaw. And of course, Claude got upset with that. Anthropic wasn't too fond of OpenClaw. So they forced him to change it and he changed it to OpenClaw. So OpenClaw was originally OpenClaw. And this essentially takes over your machine. And when I mean take over, it has access to everything. It's pretty much an admin if you set it up that way. You can set it up otherwise, but it's still dangerous because it pretty much just does whatever it needs to do in a general sense. And that's similar to these other tools that people run on their machines, like Claude Code or Gemini command line. Those can go into these destructive pathways, but there's a lot of safety measures in place to prevent you from doing that. And it's secure by default, which you've heard before sometimes, especially if you're in risk consulting or some kind of risk management piece. You want to be secure by default. Like you're not having people on a 5-story building like, oh, well, sometimes we're strapped in. Sometimes we're strapped in. It's all the time you're strapped in. And then very rarely are there scenarios where you unstrap. So that's what secure by default is. When OpenClaw, I'm getting caught up. I almost said OpenClaw. I had to pause. Like, it's not OpenClaw, it's OpenClaw. OpenClaw first came out, it was more of an indie project. It wasn't really meant for everybody to be downloading it. And that's where it gets a little bit weird. So it was the fastest downloaded / like starred thing on GitHub ever. And in like 60 days, it achieved 250,000. To put that in perspective, that's on Linux software level, which is a software that is legendary in the space. And for it to achieve that level of growth on a weekend project, it's unreasonable to think that there were all the security mechanisms put in place to prevent some malicious acts. And it's exactly what had happened when people were using OpenClaw. Things happened. And so it was a weekend project. It wasn't built for enterprise or millions of people to be using it. That's not what it was intended for, but it became that thing pretty quickly, way too fast for you to adopt and change quick enough. And so what happened was there was a instance of prompt injection. And if you're unfamiliar with prompt injection, you should think about it, because that's probably one of the next pathways for people to get into your stuff and into your computer. And what happened was there was a marketplace for Claw, and there were apps that were put on there that you could basically add to your machine. And then once you added that machine, it gave that extension had malicious code in it. And once it got into your machine, it's already in there. So it was a attack on various people's machines. And there was $16 million in crypto drained from everybody. And I'm not sure if there was some whales in that user base, or if it's like 5 people that all had like 4 mil each, or is it like hundreds of thousands of people that all had like a couple thousand in. It doesn't make it any better, but they've since patched that, and they've made OpenClaw secure by default-ish. It's much more secure than it was before, but it can still be dangerous. So it's always recommended that you sandbox and put together the proper security protocols when you're running this. I have it running on its own machine, so I don't have those issues. But anyways, so from when it came out to him getting hired by OpenAI, 3 weeks, which that is 3 weeks from posting the code to negotiating the deal with both Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg, to then getting hired for what is rumored to be a multi-billion-dollar deal, and then negotiating, which is really important to Peter, was negotiating for OpenClaw to be a open source tool and staying open source and being independent of the company that he was getting hired at. So it's OpenClaw is now an independent foundation based in Switzerland, and it stays under the MIT license. So it means free use, basically, which is great. It would have been a bummer if that came out and they're like, oh, okay, well, this can't be a thing anymore, everyone. We've got to put everything away now. Don't you use this anymore. Don't do that. So it just broke every record you could think about. Just the growth, the adoption, everything's insane. The fact that he did it in a weekend, it's revolutionary. Like, it wasn't a thing. And it's pretty sick, honestly. But there is also issues with OpenClaw because it had grown so quickly, so fast. And then there was that talent war, the big gorillas wanting Peter to work for them. And I think the biggest thing for Peter was, how would OpenClaw be treated in the future? What is it going to be? I think the vision of that was most important, plus the vision of the company, because he doesn't need any money. He's got plenty of money. And he made that clear. He's like, I don't care about the money. It's not a money thing. And I'm sure if he thought that if it was a money thing, he would have tried to monetize OpenClaw. Okay, so that is OpenClaw background. So now we're going to get into actually running with it. So we are going to go through the process of setting up OpenClaw, what I think would be the best process, because I did it yesterday and I was doing things out of order, and I was like, okay, let me order this so when we're doing it on the show, it makes sense when people are following, because it was not confusing, but if you haven't all these weird steps, you're always jumping around and you're never in a good spot. So we're going to get into a good spot. So I'm going to share my screen. And then if I need to reference anything, I've got the outline on my phone. So if you see me, if you're watching on video, you're like, where is he looking? I have my phone on the other side because I only have one screen. So if I'm sharing my full screen, it's just kind of pointless for me to share my outline while I am presenting. So that's that. All right. So let's share a screen and I'll do, all right, I'm back. So why is this a website? All right. So let's go to this deployment guide. Okay. So the first thing that I think is important to do is get your APIs. And so there's a couple things you want to think about here. What do you want to do? And how do you want to interact with OpenClaw? There's a couple ways that you can do it. There's many, actually. You can do iMessage, you can do Telegram, you can do Discord. It really depends on what you want and what are your limitations that you're willing to accept. If it's you want it to be as easy as possible, do you want it to look cool? Do you want it to be flexible? And those are the kinds of things you got to think about. So there is this thing called Blue Bubbles that allows you to manage OpenClaw through iMessage. And once you set that up, it's cool. I think it'd be really cool to be able to just text your AI friend. But I think the caveat is consistently people talk about the consistency of the connection. And then Telegram is really good. Telegram has a bot API that you can enable. It's really easy. It's fast, probably the fastest setup. The caveat of fast means that you have less flexibility on what you can and can't do. And what I mean by that is it's not as, I feel like it's not as good if you're trying to code because it doesn't have native markdown. It doesn't organize things into different threads. You can do those grouping things, but it's not the same at all as, say, Discord, where Discord is already built in a thread-like manner. And those threads enable you to say, okay, hey, if you have any errors, put it in the error thread. Or if I want to talk to you about coding stuff, it's going to be in this thread. You can organize it however you want, make it as simple and flat or as complicated as you want. But you have that flexibility. And you also have the ability to provide markdown, native markdown support, either with inputs or outputs. And the biggest caveat for Discord, I think, is the bot API limit. I think it's limited to 1,900 characters to read and output, I think. And there's a way around it where it uses some kind of webhook. I'm less familiar with it because, well, we're starting this together. I did it yesterday. So when you're thinking about what APIs to gather, think about which tools you're going to use. And probably the most important one that has the most flexibility is how do you want to interact with your agent? And then once you determine that, I think before you do that, one more thing. Before you do that, you should think about what are you going to be doing? If you're just going to be messaging back and forth different things and you're not going to be coding, then maybe Discord doesn't make sense. But if you're going to be coding, I highly recommend Discord. And if you think that you're going to make a complicated threaded process where you want stuff organized, then I would use Discord. And Discord is harder to set up. But when I say harder to set up, it's not that hard. We're going to do it. It takes about 5 minutes. So it costs about 4 more minutes than it would, but it also has a lot more flexibility. So You do with that information however you please. Okay. And then there is, how do you want to search stuff? So there's Televi, and then there is Google Chrome, which uses Gemini. There is Perplexity, Search. There's a whole bunch of different search mechanisms. I chose this one because it's been around for a couple of years and it's quite good. And I haven't used it before, but from what I've heard, it's good. And then the other piece of it is it was really easy to set up. You just create an account. You've got a free API for 1,000 searches per month. Seems decent enough. And then if I need to reevaluate, then I will. But majority of my work is going to be coding. So I don't necessarily care that much about the search. But if you're going to be doing a lot of searching, I would do more research there. What this company does that's cool is that it transforms the website information into Markdown, and it's easy for the LLM to compile the information it receives and create a great output for the user. Oh my gosh, it's getting hot. I got to take off my clothes. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do on the API side. And then you got to think about, hey, am I running this locally or am I running this using one of these frontier models? So you could run it locally if you've got enough space, but nowadays the models get so compressed that you could run it anywhere. You can run it on your phone. Is it going to be really good? Probably not. Is it going to be as productive as you think? Probably not. But, or you could pay to run one of these bigger models, which objectively aren't that expensive. 3.1 Flash, I think is around 20 cents to 30 cents per 1 million tokens, which is a lot of tokens. That's a lot. And so what, are you going to spend 20 million tokens? And okay, like you're not breaking the bank. So I would just think about that. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do and how productive you want to be. But I tried Gemma 4 last night and I thought it was okay, but I was like, it seems average. And it's probably supposed to be average because it's a model that you can download and run on your computer or your phone. So I don't think it's meant to be some monster model that's able to just do whatever, which eventually, hopefully we get to that place one day. And I think it's good for what it is and how small it is, but also, I don't know. I'm trying to be super productive and I'm setting this up to be more productive, not to spend a lot of time curating my prompt to tell it exactly what it needs to do. I just want to be the idea guy. I'm an idea guy. You know what I mean? I don't know why I did that accent, but okay. So let's start gathering our keys. So let's go. Let's do the first one. I have the websites. Oh, Alt V or Windows V. Okay, cool. Windows. All right. So then if you log in, you've got to make an account. Let's continue. I hate that I'm logging in with like my actual account. Okay, so you'll have your key. Of course, my key is hidden because I'm cool, but you'll just make an account and then you'll go to overview and your key's literally right here. So then all you have to do is set that aside on a different tab. So that's what we'll have. And then, okay, let's go back to our setup. So say, all right, now we either need a Gemini API key or we need a Codex API key or Anthropic. These are all optional. I already have Gemini set up. I'm using a Google Authenticator first. It's not Google Authenticator, but it's Google Authent. And that basically just uses your Google login. And I understand that that's not scalable, but I also set up a service account on my enterprise system. So I have a service account that has a key that I'll be utilizing that will constantly be able to use the system without having to log in, but that's a whole different thing and not related to this episode and more complicated than I originally thought it was going to be. It was like such a pain in the ass. I thought it'd be easier, honestly. Whatever. This is not a success right now. I'm going to have to cut this part, cut it out a little bit. So I'll tell you what, I didn't have these issues last time I did this. So the next thing that we need to do right now is we need to go into Discord and we need to create a server for ourselves. So let's do that. So I will create a server and we'll say my own, and for me, and we'll say venture step. All right. So I've created this server and I'm just going to delete all this other stuff because the bot's not going to need it. General. Okay. So we've got the server set up. So we got this server venture step. So then we're going to go upstairs, I guess. That's what I wanted to say for some reason. And then we're going to go over to the Discord developer portal. Let's do this. Let's exit this. And then we're going to go to Discord developer portal. And we're going to log in. Already logged in. We're going to do a new application. We're going to call it venture step. That's our bot name. Go into this. I'm human. All right. So venture step. So we got this stuff. We're good to go. And then the next thing that we need to do is we need to go over to this. And just keep in mind, after this episode, I'm going to delete the bot. We want to reset our token. We want to get a token. You'll have to put in your password. I'll have to edit that because I don't want to share my number publicly. That'd be a bummer. Okay. So then once that's set up, you've got your token. And then the way that you're going to have the bot join, and you're going to want to turn this off, the public bot, but you can only do it once this bot has joined servers. You want to go over here and you want to specify what it can and can't do and what type of URL you're generating. You're generating a bot, so it needs to be a bot URL. Don't worry about all this other stuff. And then you can over-engineer this. I wouldn't. I would just do administrator. It would suck to have this all set up and then you're having permission issues. So then once that's set up, it's going to generate a URL. So you want to click this URL and you want to add it to a new tab. So we're going to do that right now. And then once you do that, it's going to have you log in. Since I'm already logged in on my machine, it's going to allow me to add it to a server. So it knows I made the venture step bot and the server is called venture step. So it automatically linked those two things together. And so I'm going to join, and I'm going to join as administrator, and I'm going to state that I'm human, and then I'm good. Boom. There it is. So then after that's done, you should definitely take your bot off of being public. Go to the installation tab, install link, set to none, and then go back to bot, and then go turn this off. Cool. Okay, sounds good. So if you do need to turn your bot off public, you need to go to the installation tab, then go to your install link, and then change this to none. I didn't remember that I did that, so sorry. It's little things sometimes. It's little things. Okay, so now that we've got our bot all set up and it's ready, and let's just check it one more time to make sure. Go over here and look at bot. All these things are highlighted. You have to make sure that this is highlighted. The present intent, server members intent, message content intent. If this stuff isn't highlighted, then your bot doesn't really respond. So just keep that in mind. Or it can only respond if you sign it, which is annoying because then you can't voice type. Okay, one other thing. Before we get too deep in the weeds on the other stuff, one thing I forgot to note, and I probably should have said it in the beginning, was when you set this up, think about you're going to be using voice type the whole time. Think about the name. If you're going to make multiple agents or have an agent, you should be able to say its name without having to type it. So keep that in mind. And also keep that in mind if you're going to found a company. That's also important too. If you're going to found a company, you should definitely be voice type optimized. Voice type optimize, because, well, that's how people are going to interact with stuff. Machines typically are going to be taking commands from other machines eventually, and humans are going to be typing this stuff. They're going to just say what they need. Okay, so Discord setup. The next thing is we've got the server config and we've got these channels, whatever you want to do. So the next thing is we're going to start running stuff. If you're on Mac, you want to install Homebrew. Homebrew is gold standard for Mac. And if you're not on Mac, you can also install Homebrew on Windows, but Windows treats Homebrew a little differently. It treats it like a third party. And also I'm going to be using command line because it's just easier. But I set this up to where you can just run. You don't have to worry about the comments or any of this stuff. Like, it's set up to where you just copy and paste the command. You know what the command's doing. You put it in your machine and you call it a day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up the process. And since I have a lot of this stuff, it's probably not necessary, but I've got it in YOLO mode, and YOLO mode means it just does whatever. So it could absolutely crash my machine. Hold on. Let me change the model. Let's do 3. Okay, so let's try that again. See how quick that was? I'm dialed on the Gemini command line. Okay, so it's going to run through all this stuff for me on my behalf. It's in YOLO mode, so it's not going to ask me. I definitely don't suggest you starting out in YOLO mode, and then I would be careful just giving these types of things full access to your machine. As I said before, this machine doesn't have anything personal on it. I wiped it yesterday, so it's got Gemini command line, Obsidian, Discord, and Todoist, and Google Chrome. Those are the only things on the machine besides the bloatware from Apple. That's it. But it's going to go through and install everything on the machine. I suggest you probably set this up this way as well. It makes it way easier. But if you don't want to do that, then here are the commands. I'll put it on our website, but I suggest that you just download this tool, and I think it's free at first, and then you've got to pay, or it might be $20. But if you're worried about the timing or how long it's going to take, you could put this on your computer, and then you can go cook dinner and you can come back and it'll be pretty much squared away if you put it in YOLO mode. If you don't do that, then it's going to ask you all the time, like, is it okay to do this? Is it okay to do this? Is it okay to do this? And it's just like, come on, man, just stop asking me. Let's just get this done. So when these commands are running, I'll just walk through some of them. So the homebrew thing is kind of like a global manager of stuff that you download off the internet. Definitely for Linux and Mac, it is the way to do it. I just said that earlier in the episode that Windows treats it a little differently. It treats it sometimes like a third party. If you have an option to install Homebrew or install a different way, it kind of depends on what it is. Like, there is an option to install Gemini command line with Homebrew, but since it's native in NPM, and that's like the suggested way to install it, then that's how you install it. So it kind of depends on how the software was built and how they want you to interact with it. So you have all these things running, and then once they're done running, you want to verify that everything ran correctly. And so this is the last step. So you'd want to know the version of the node, you want to have Git installed, and Llama, Claude, and Gemini. I'm going to take Claude out of here because I don't have Claude, but I'll have Gemini. This has been thinking for 3 minutes. For me to do this myself and like copy and paste. All right, so action is needed. Let's see where it's requesting. So it did install Anthropic on accident. My bad. So I've got Anthropic Claude, but it's not a bad thing. Okay. All right. So we've got this stuff. It did all these things. It's thinking. Okay. It's still thinking. It's the thinking machine, baby. All right. So it's running. Yes. So now I've got to go in here and tell it, yes, it's okay. Update gateway service. Yes. Enable. Yes. Restart gateway service now. Sure. Okay. So OpenClaw has this doctor function that you can call that will check how it's doing, and then also has really detailed logs. So this is set up and it's done. So then the next thing is to go back. It's Shift tab to go back in here and just thinking, and I'll prepare my code to put in here. Then we'll go to Gemini. Well, I guess I could just do all of it because I've got Claude on my machine. So let's do that. So then we will go queue that up. and I can maybe stall. So when I was setting this up at first, it was so funny because OpenClaw was telling me BS when I had it in Discord and I was interacting with it. It was like, no, I can't search the internet. No, I can't do any of that. I can't do those things. And I was like, yes, you can. You 100% can do those things. What are you talking about? And it was like, oh yeah, but like, I don't want to. And I was like, what do you mean you don't want to? I guess send it a message to look at the code base of this and give me a review of what it needs to do. And then afterwards, it was like, all right, but like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, well, I just told you what I want you to do. I want you to review the code base and tell me what you think and tell me, what you learned about it. And it was like, give me an actual assignment. That's not an assignment. And I was like, well, I feel like it is. Like asking you to review and understand it is important for you to be able to work on it. And it was like, well, get back to me with an assignment. It's like, what? Why are you gaslighting me? You're telling me you can't do things. And then you're also telling me that you aren't capable of reading through the code because you don't want to, because you don't have a definitive directive of an output that you need. It's ridiculous. Okay, all tools are available. All right, perfect. So then let's do this. Let's check it. So the next thing we're doing is checking the versions. So the next thing we want to do is we want to start our next problem. This is some Windows. All right. Brew services. We'll see if it can find it. I have it already on my machine, so I don't have to download it because it takes forever. Backup strategy. It was able to find it. Chilling. That's actually the first step. So we're only going to do the first step today. There's a lot of other stuff that needs to be done. And honestly, I need to become more familiar with all of the settings, the do's and don'ts, and figure out what works for me because I'm going to be using it or plan to use it every day. So I'll let you know on what is most optimal for myself, although I'm only one person and I like to work on things like this. So I'll make a lot of progress, but I'll also need a little time. So you got to give me some time. Okay. You got to give me some time to brew on this. No pun intended. Okay. So I guess it's talking to its own little buddy. So it's talking to a llama right now. Refined tone, friendly and inviting, self-controlled. Don't just say hello and ask, how can I help, making this interaction productive from the start. How can I help you today? Window. And let's do this. Let's run this command. So paste. Wow, file does not exist. Okay, so this is going to run. It's saying 1 hour, which is ridiculous. So I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to chill. And then I will come right back. Hey, I'm back. So actually, we spent time downloading something we didn't need to download. There was an error in the documentation I created, and I just copied paste. And it was downloading the 26 billion parameter model, which is not what you want to download on this type of machine. I'm running an M1 Mac with 16 gigs of unified memory. So basically, no shot I could run that. I can't even run a 12 billion parameter model. So the 4 billion parameter model is what I'll be running, which it's supposed to be really good for the amount of space it takes up on your RAM and how small the model is. So just keep that in mind. I used it last night. It seemed okay, but I was trying to do complicated stuff apparently. But for simple tasks, it seems fine. So on the right side here, I've got 2 terminal windows open here. On the right side of the window, you'll see that I've got this command to run Olama, run Gemma. And it's going to test if it's online. Let's see, it does not exist. What? All right. Let's see here. Olama operational. I swore I just ran it. Say test. I wanted to run it on a different screen, but then I had to change the command a little bit. Online and works. Okay, so it's going to test it. It works. I was looking at it earlier, and I was asking questions about the model because it downloaded the 26 billion parameter model. I was like, hey, yo, what's going on? I tried to cancel it, and I was like, I said, wait, that's way too big. I can't run that on my machine. And then it said that it was up and running. So I did a test, said hello, and it said, hello, how are you? How can I help today? So then it just said, test successful, online, working perfectly well. I am online and functioning optimally, ready to assist with any request. Your setup is now fully verified and ready to use. Is there anything else you'd like us to do? Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to onboard. We want to onboard OpenClaw. So you just OpenClaw and then onboard is all you have to put. And then it's going to ask you a whole bunch of questions when you onboard it, which is important because this is when you gather your keys. So it's going to ask you, okay, how are you going to interact with it? What are you going to do? Et cetera, et cetera. And from that, you'll need to give it keys and information. I hope it asks me because it's important part of the video, but it may have taken it from my old setup agent's main session. Well, it didn't ask me anything. Okay, so we will be configuring and then we'll be setting up the Discord and then we'll just test it and then the show is over. Exploring. That's a weird thing in coding. It's always harder to set it up again once you've already set it up because there's always files that stay on your machine. Just run it in here. It should ask me all the questions that I'm talking about. All right, here we go. Perfect. Let's make this big screen. Okay, so this is the setup. Oh, this actually looks worse, big screen. Let's just move it like this. It should be fine. Okay, so I understand this is a personal by default. And I say yes. And then I'll say quick start. And then I want to update values. Okay, so which model provider are we using? So this is what I was saying. There's a lot of choices. We are not using these other ones. We're going to use Olama, but these all have different choices. I mean, there's a lot. Figure out what's good for you. For this instance of the show, I'm going to use Olama, but probably going forward, I'll be using Gemini command line. Authentication. Okay, so Olama. So it starts up, and then we will do local, or you can do cloud and local. So I'll just be using local. Okay, so it's going to ask me what model I'm going to use, and this is the model that we downloaded earlier, Gemma 4. So let's take that. It says not found. That's a lie. So this is how are you going to communicate with it. So there's many options. You could do Google Chat, the bot framework from Microsoft Teams, Blue Bubble is what I talked about earlier. Then there should be right here, Discord. And so click Discord, and you're going to have to give this your bot token. So enter the bot token. So we're going to go back to our other webpage, and then we're going to get our bot token, which I put Discord bot token right here. Then we'll give it. I didn't copy and paste that correctly, probably. So let's just redo that. Okay. Guess I didn't copy and paste it correct again, twice in a row. Crazy. Copy, paste. I configure bot channel access, and I'll just say allow list. I wanted to say allow off. All right, let's just redo it. I don't know how to go back. So quick start, Olama, enter, local. Then it loads for a second. Then I'll select the model. Okay, so then we'll say Gemma. Then after that, we're going to use Discord. It's down the bottom. Enter Discord token. Configure channels. And my screen just went black again for some reason. What's going on with my Mac? I say allow all. Why am I saying allow all? Because no one else is in there besides the bot, so I don't care. And then I was on using this model API key. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Stop sharing. And then I'll give it the key because I don't want to give it the key and share it. I don't want to have to make a new key. So let's do that. Figure skills now. All right. Let's go back to sharing. It's fine. I don't need web search. Just skipped over it. Share window. Entire screen. Configure skills now. Yeah. And then you can add in all these skills if you want. I'm not going to do that for this. You can keep going through this process. But now we need to run it. Let's see. We need to go back and ensure this is done correctly. It is correct. Look at it. It's not showing up. Weird. It's always flawless when you're doing it by yourself. So funny. Last night, the only part of my setup that took a while was restarting my machine, and then getting this going was easy. Like it took me 30 minutes, but this is not vibing. And then after it's working, then I'm going to bed tired of AI. I set this up last night and I thought it wasn't working because it took so long for the AI to reply back to me. It took like 4 minutes. It was typing for 4 minutes. And I just said, hey, testing. I asked it, why did it take you so long to reply? That's how long it took me to think about what to say. I asked you how you're doing. Like, are you here? Can you reply to me? It's like a yes, no. And that it basically said, yes, I am available. That's what it said. It didn't say anything complicated. It's so funny. So funny though, because when I set this up, flawless. First time. It just wouldn't respond to me. And then I had to add that setting about the message intent. All right. That's my bad. I saved the bot token earlier when we were chatting and I was like, oh, well, then I'll just have to redo it. But now I just have to redo it anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I'll just do this. So let's say, okay. What happened was I didn't want to create this because this is what I'm going to create as my actual new bot. And I was like, okay, well, if I do that, then I have to make a new one anyways. So let me just create Venture Step because this is related to Venture Step. Oh, you see that. Testing Claude connection, local script successful. And so then I created a new channel live and then created another bot live so I wouldn't have to create something again, but whatever. I'll just make a new one. Okay. So we'll say, hello, can you hear me? What is the weather like in NYC? Cheers. Oh, wow, it dropped an emoji? That's new. I dropped an emoji? Hey, I just dropped an emoji on me. Thinking face. Okay. All right. You got that swag. Drops an emoji on me. Oh my goodness. It's probably going to tell me to look it up or something really mean. I'm telling you. The other AI that I created last night was so mean to me. I was like, wow, you've got a lot of friends, don't you? Treating you so nice. And this is how you talk to me. Disappointed. I wonder if I can stall for 2 minutes while this is thinking about replying. Because it's going to take a while. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. It just added a new emoji. Now it's fearful. Why is it fearful? This is not good. It just stopped. I don't know. It's just not replying anymore. It's here. It's running. Let's just test it and let's run this broadcast. The model did not produce a response for auto timeout. Please try again or increase agents default timeout time in your config. Disable, set to 0, disable. Got it. All right. Well, this was the install and overview of OpenClaw. And it was exhilarating. error filled. You never have as many errors as you do when you're doing something live. It's the live demo curse. It just comes with the game. But we took you from 0 to hero. Still a long way to go from being productive, but it has potential. That being said, appreciate you wherever you are in this world. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Thanks for listening, and listen in next week. Goodbye.